We might be uglier than Mark Ruffalo on a 7-day bender, but we get it done. And that is all that counts on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. My co-host, Caleb Morse, is out this week, but that doesn't mean that we'll stop bringing you the most esoteric, discerning, urbane, yet asinine thoughts on all the problems of the world that need solving with the help of, well, a little or a lot of whiskey. The crew, by the way, is already hard at work making sure everything is just right for this week's episode as we ponder deep thoughts. Not with Jack Handy, maybe though with Thomas Handy, maybe even George T. Stagg that's here over my right shoulder, but maybe not so much. Maybe we've got a better pick for you when it comes to our weekly whiskey. Now, if you're watching on our social side, we apologize that you actually have to see us. After all, we're not much to look at. But after all, we're also not all about form. We're more about function here on Implicit Bias Radio. To use an analogy, who cares if we look like Tom Cruise, Tom Brady? My apologies, Tom and Jerry. The reality is we actually do stuff. We work. We get stuff done. The problem, however, is this, that all too often, today, we care way too much about what things look like as opposed to what they actually do. It's why we constantly say on this show that when it comes to people, believe none of what they say, believe only what they do. Now, we can't take credit for that quote. It actually came from a guy by the name of Randy Pausch, who wrote a book called The Last Lecture. He was actually dying of pancreatic cancer at the time and wanted to pass on what knowledge he had to his children. And that quote may have just been his opus. When it comes to people, it's not only about trusting people's actions, but more than that. It's that people's actions will tell you who or what they serve. If people's actions care nothing about what they look like, how they might be judged, or if they may lose their reputation to do the right thing, it tells us an awful lot. It tells us that someone cares more about function than form. They care more about who they are than maybe how they might appear. Those are implicit bias radio people. Too many times, we're all guilty, including us here on the show. We're all guilty of caring too much about what something might look like instead of whether something works or if it's actually the right thing to do. Social media influencers who rent cars to look good, take money and give it away in order to make themselves look kind and caring, but then act like Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong when he just doesn't get his way behind the scenes. TV, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, ergo Rick Rack, are full of these people. They're everywhere. Those people, they're unfortunately bleeding into our people. What do I mean by that? There are plenty of people who are more worried about driving the Mercedes than paying the note on the car. Believe me, those people are out there. People who insist on the name brand stuff only to have everything fall apart. Corporations know it too. The big name brands are maybe some of the worst. Here's just a couple of examples. Front load washers look great, and so do washers without the big old agitator in the middle. The problem? They don't actually wash clothes like the granite block our parents had that lasted for 30 plus years. Dryers might even be worse. They look like space capsules. They'll steam things. You can put your shoes in them. Only problem is they don't just dry clothes. My point is this. We're so worried about how it looks that we've forgotten to ask if it freaking works anymore. Cars full of computers, no. Give me 1960s American muscle all day long. Houses, all that new tech, they look beautiful. They can be built in what seems, like just a couple of weeks, but it's almost a guarantee they won't last like the stone structures that are so classic in Europe. We've got people who decorate for holidays that have to market to us in order to celebrate the holiday for the most unholy things on the planet. We've gone as far as to care more about what we look like to others than what we look like even to our very own creator. We were warned about valuing form over function. In Galatians, we're told, "For I am now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ." See, if we're too worried about what we look like, and look, we're all guilty of it, like I said, especially us here in the TSPL. Look, we're all trying to be Catholic and Christian as possible. But if we're too worried about what others think, if we're too worried about how we look, we'll forget to worry about the really important thing. And that's this. Is what we're doing actually working? Is what we're doing actually helping? Is what we're doing actually the right thing? These are the big questions. So instead of asking, how do I look? Maybe we should be asking, did I do the right thing? Instead of asking, do I look good? Maybe we should be asking, is what I'm doing helping? Instead of asking, do I look fat in these jeans? Maybe, no, guys, don't ever answer that question. Don't ever say anything different. Just nod and say no. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the look. Don't worry about the person. Don't worry about the form. Worry about the function. And worry about your implicit bias. We'll see you in a sec. Cheers. Who counts down 3, 2, 1? Who is it?
Me.
Yeah, it's you. And what just happened?
The video people weren't ready.
Yeah, blame it on somebody else. That's what's happening on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. The crew is here in the Mr. Lester's top secret podcast lair. And let me tell you, this episode, just hang on. Because we are jam-packed, not just with content. We've got great guests. We've got new members of the crew. We've got people who are actually remoting into the episode, who own distilleries. You name it, we got it. And it's going to be tons of fun. Let me start by introducing you to who's here in the TSPL as we get into our weekly whiskey. Let's start in the chair like mine. He is in for Caleb Morris. Well, he's not in for Caleb Morris. He's just in Caleb's
I can't
normal
fill
chair.
Those shoes.
Oh, God, it's too easy. It's too easy. Kevon, don't say it. Don't.
Go ahead.
No, that is short pour Pellerin. I'd like us to stay on the air and not have the FCC take us off the air. That is short pour Burley Pellerin, one of the OG of Implicit Bias Radio as we got this show started literally there at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
And it is wonderful to have you back here in the TSPL.
I am overjoyed to be back here tonight for numerous reasons, but this one's I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I think you've probably already gotten a sip and you're happy already to be here. So that is outstanding. We'll hold your powder on that one because you need it probably because you're wearing those shorts. Anyway, let's go to the bar where we've got two people. One that is going to be new. The other you are going to recognize. He's helping us keeping it Catholic on this week's episode. Let's start with Dwayne Seamaw from Ambassador Wine and Spirits, a member of the Implicit Bias Liquor Collective. Dwayne, so what do you think? Is it everything you thought it would be when you came into the Mr. Lester's TSPL?
Yeah, a little smaller, a little more cozy than I thought it would be. I thought you guys were in a bigger studio, but
we look like we're in a vast, massive television studio. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Good job, Tug.
It looks like a pretty impressive setup.
But what you're telling me is it's not.
No.
I'm kidding. It's all right. It's a pleasure to have you here, and hopefully you are getting ready to enjoy all of the libations because we are getting ready to talk about this JT Mellick that you've got as a pick from Ambassador Wine and Spirits. Let's go to our other member who's at the bar. He is Father Taj Glaude, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you back in the TSPL.
Always a pleasure to be here.
The TSPL, by the way, for the uninitiated, Father, what does it stand for?
Top Secret Podcast Lair.
Located somewhere in downtown Lafayette. I need a little more on the lair, Father. Do it again with a little more on the lair. We're doing director stuff here.
The Top Secret Podcast Lair.
There we go. The Top Secret Podcast Lair. Yes. It's a pleasure to have you back. And if you're a longtime listener of the show, stick around for the end because we're going to lean on Father Glaude to close the show out with something that is incredibly relevant to Halloween and something that at this point, I believe he may be the only person in the world who can do this. He's not the only person, though, in the world who can get a hold of this JT Mellick single barrel strength that is available at Ambassador Wine and Spirits, member of our liquor collective. So I'm going to start on this because, Dwayne, I'm going to ask you a question kind of right out of the gate as we get the microphone to you. I have taken a couple sips of this, and I have said for a long time, for those who do not know JT Mellick, they're here, what we call the Acadiana area of Louisiana. It's a 9-parish area. If you're watching somewhere else, you probably call them counties. We call them parishes. But they're not making bourbon.
No.
They are making rice whiskey.
Absolutely.
And with them being so close to home, it is one of those things that when you have their regular stuff, you forget how good it is. But their special stuff is really special. And their pick stuff, Dwayne, this is really special. How did this pick go? Did y'all know immediately when this particular one hit your lips, like this is it and we can stop?
No. Whenever we went to JT Mellick in Branch, Louisiana, went to their distillery and saw the whole setup. They brought us back, and they had 4 pre-poured barrels from their master distiller, and from, I think, Mike Frugier had a bit of information to put which ones he wanted to pull first and stuff like that. We sat down and we tasted through 4 samples, all of them uniquely tasting, uniquely colored, and we tasted through the whole lineup. We tasted through the whole lineup a second time, and we landed on this one. Just the color of it, the taste of it, the proof, everything just kind of hit every single check mark that we all were looking for in a barrel pick.
Yeah.
Not an everyday sipper, something that was just out of the ordinary that we knew we could sell because it's just got that unique quality, that unique flavor that is going to be special for our store as opposed to any of the other stores that in the future get JT Mellick's. We've had one in the past before that was absolutely unique, and people across the nation still talk about it. I get emails and Facebook posts about it all the time. But we wanted to try to replicate that again.
Well, and that's one of the things I love about barrel picks, and it's one of the reasons why we have kind of really steered towards basically doing nothing but barrel picks on this show, which is anybody can get anything off the shelf and taste it and tell you what they think. Great. A barrel pick should be a truly unique experience that, guess what? You can't replicate again.
Right.
And that is what makes it special. That is what makes it an opportunity to be what, to us, whiskey, bourbon should all be about. And it's a special experience with special people over special conversations. And this, to me, meets all 3 of those. And Rice, crazy part is, Rice whiskey, when I tell you it is soft yet aggressive all at the same time, it is subtle yet bold in the same bottle. And this mahogany, Burley was actually kind of going through the Implicit Bias Whiskey Tasting Journal going, all right, what color do we think this is? And when he said mahogany, I was like, look at the color of the bar. The bar that you're sitting at is mahogany. And when you look at the color here, it's like, yeah, that it pretty much matches up. And you were mentioning that this is only like 4+ years. There's no final statement on it, but it's just 4 years.
Correct.
Basically.
Correct. It's only 4+ years because they do have an age statement that they put out themselves, which is a 6-year-old. And 4+ years down here in Louisiana, has a different maturing rate on whatever's stored in those oak barrels because of temperature and our climate down here, as opposed to what's coming out of Tennessee, as opposed to what's coming out of Kentucky, as opposed to what's coming out of Texas.
Oh, definitely. And Texas whiskey is its own thing.
Absolutely.
That is just it's almost a totally different animal.
Right.
Even Texas bourbon. But I'm telling you, for those who think, man, I'm not necessarily sure if I can get on board with Rice whiskey, I can't wait for the rest of the crew, and we're going to start with their reviews of this and kind of what notes they get, what flavors they get, what nose they get off of this. And Father, I want to start with you as we start to make that transition. I get an absolutely massive just caramel on the front of this. This, to me, and I know this is going to sound like sacrilege to some people, but this reminds me of when I had a Pappy 20 and it was that much caramel.
Wow.
You don't necessarily get that little bit of edge that you get with bourbon. So It's not quite as, I don't want to say rough around the edges because the Pappy wasn't rough, but this is just, it's a soft, massive liquid caramel on the palate that goes down so smooth. And Father, here's where I want you to start. Do me a favor, Father. Give me a guess at the proof on this as you start to walk us through what flavors you get off of this.
That's a very good question. The proof.
How does it drink? Let me rephrase the question. How does it drink? What proof do you think it drinks at?
I would say it drinks like 100 proof.
Okay.
Being originally from Crowley, the rice capital of the world, and we got the Rice Festival this coming weekend.
Boy, talk about timing. It's almost like we planned this. Because we didn't. Don't worry.
You know what? I am living proof. I often say that God definitely has a sense of humor. No,
Where's the bell?
Yeah. Well, the bell's up at the bar.
No.
So, Father, you get to ring your own bell.
One of the few times I get to do so. But I love the combination of the rice and the caramel that you get on the nose. It tastes a bit of that combination once you sip it, and it's very smooth, and it's not overpowering. Especially, like you said earlier, the rice has that subtlety and that aggression at the same time, but not too aggressive. And I really like the unique flavor that this whiskey has.
So, Burley, I know you know the proof on this.
I don't.
Oh, I thought you did.
I didn't.
thought you looked
No,
at it.
I didn't
Okay,
look at
because
it.
I asked you not to, and I figured you just didn't listen, which is
No,
what
I,
normally
I
happens.
didn't. When you told me it was on there, I didn't. I put it down.
Okay, so I'm curious.
I agree with Father. It drinks in the 100 range, but it feels like it's got to be higher.
This is the experience of your palate coming in.
I feel like it's got to be 116 to 120 plus maybe.
Okay.
Probably. I would not be surprised if it's 120. I am going to say though, I'm going to go on a limb here, and I would challenge anyone to sample this whiskey blind
Agreed.
with others and try to tell me that this does not taste like bourbon.
Oh, it's got that big caramel. I get cola, a little bit of cola on this.
I'm going towards calling this one of my favorites. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me.
The color is beautiful. The mouthfeel, the burn, the greasiness of it.
Look, it is.
Caleb,
it is-
where's Caleb?
Yeah, I know.
Where's
Caleb would come up with something bad there.
Where's Caleb? No, seriously. It's got all the things, and I can absolutely agree with him as to why they would have picked it. Because
Okay.
it's got so many of the things that we're looking for.
So long finish,
Very long finish.
beautiful finish. Makes you want another sip and another sip
Absolutely.
and another sip. It's just oily enough.
Yep.
It's not over oily, not overly viscous, not overly thick. This is one. And you say you give a challenge to blind taste this against a bourbon and tell me which one doesn't taste like bourbon. What I say is this: find somebody who's new to whiskey. Find somebody who is just getting into it, who typically is an 80 to 100 proof person,
Yeah.
and let them take a sip of this.
Yeah.
You will prove to them that proof can be done as an art form. This is proof as an art form. Dwayne, the proof on this, you want to tell them?
Sure, I'll tell them.
Go ahead.
122.8, I think is what it was.
122.8. You would never know.
No.
I knew because I'd had conversations with Dwayne ahead of time on this. I kind of knew where the proof was, but you sip this at 122.8 and you're like, oh, this is just an easy sip in whiskey that I could sit here and drink all night. And you realize 3 or 4 of these, it'll turn into morning real quick and you won't have any idea.
Yep, absolutely.
And the flavor is just so enjoyable. It sits so well on the palate. It coats the tongue just enough. You can run it over your gums and it doesn't get all that burn that sometimes other whiskeys will give. You can give it that Kentucky chew, which is what they call it, and just let it sit and enjoy it. And oh my goodness, this is unique. Burley, I'm not going to disagree with you. This goes in the top 10. And this goes up there with, so for those who say, well, what would you compare this to? I will tell you what I compare this to on the whiskey side. Michter's cask strength toasted rye. That's what I would compare this to. And that's a unicorn on that side.
Yeah.
People are going to pay $3.50 a bottle for that or
Right.
more because they released it, once?
Yeah.
That is what the flavor on this reminds me of. And I know that this is not $3.50. I know it's available also at Ambassador Wine and Spirits, whereas you're not going to find the other one. But that's to me what this reminds me of. But this might even be better because it's easier to drink.
Do we have the mash bill on this?
Rice.
And
Rice.
Rice.
it's all right.
It's
all
rice.
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 No
Yep.
rye?
No rye.
Nope.
There is no rye.
In fact, it's Louisiana rice. It's grown on the farms, on the Frugier farms in Branch, Louisiana.
So how do they get the spice? Because I would have said that this is a high rye
No.
because or a higher rye because I get the burn that I like. So there's no rye in it.
No rye. So the flavor is going to come from them distilling the rice and then the rice sitting in those oak barrels and it just going in and out of the wood for 4+ years here in Louisiana climate.
Beautiful.
I'm telling you,
It's beautiful.
this is proofing as an art form,
This,
in my opinion.
this truly would be an art form, and getting those flavors to be able to get that level.
Yep.
Probably used to have this little cheesy slogan where living is rice and easy.
Yeah.
Oh, that fits this
I
way
remember
too
that.
well.
I was just about to say it. You want rice and easy? This is it.
Yeah, this is drinking is rice and easy. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic and just off the charts. Okay, so we're getting to the point where we need to rate this on the Morse Whiskey Rating Code, which we'll give you that for the uninitiated. And then we're going to talk about playing What Would You Pay for the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Chain presented by Box Drop of Lafayette. We'll do that in a minute because I'm going to have to argue with Burley because I do every time because he says we're not playing the game the right way. I said it's my game. We play it how I want to play it. So zip it. So here's how we go. First of all, the Morse Whiskey Rating Code is this. Red, I would not drink this even if it was free. Yellow, I would only drink this if it was free. Green, I would buy this. Blue, I would seek this out, meaning it's that special bottle you can put on your bar. It can be a collectible. It can be something that you drink with really special people, which is what really good whiskey is supposed to be. So, Father Glaude, why don't we start with you on, first of all, the Morse Whiskey Rating Code. Red, yellow, green, or blue?
This is definitely a blue.
Okay, so now let's talk the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Chain. So how does this game work? Burley, what's my instructions for you on this?
The closest to the actual.
No. My instructions for you are zip it. Okay, so I'm kidding. Go ahead, Burley. You can
No,
explain.
go ahead.
You can explain.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Here's what we say, and here's what we ask. What would you pay for the liquid in the bottle? Whoever is closest to the actual price gets to wear the chain. But it doesn't mean that what's in the bottle is anywhere close because Burley, as we have often discussed on this show, just because you pay a high price for it doesn't mean that the liquid is worth it.
No. But when I taste something like this, I would pay X.
Correct.
I would pay X.
Yep. So Father Glaude, what would you pay for the liquid that's in this bottle?
I would pay. Actually, I would pay more than this for this bottle.
Well, no, then you just go, then you, what would you, if you would pay more, go ahead and pay. What would you pay?
I would definitely pay over $100 for this.
Okay, over 100 this is not the Price is Right. Over 100, Bob. You don't get to qualify with that. I need something specific here. You're killing me.
Okay.
Thank you.
120.
120. Burley.
$70.
70. Okay, so here's where I'm going to go with this. Because I've had bottles that are $199. I've had bottles that are right at 200. And it's not that I like paying that, but the equivalent of the liquid that's in this bottle versus the bottles that I've seen and paid $199, $200 for all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. So I've got to put a number on this that's up there. I'm talking $179. The liquid in here to me is equivalent to a $179 bottle.
Agreed.
Then why'd you come in at 70? I'm just curious.
Well, because I know how the game works.
We're not playing to win the belt. You just get to wear the belt chain. So are you rescinding it?
I'd rescind that because I would definitely pay over $100, just like Father God said.
Again, this is not the Price is Right, Bob.
I'd
we don't
pay
have.
120.
You can't steal his either.
Okay. Okay. I'll shoot the gap. I'm
And
trying to
stealing
think of
from
the
a priest.
most. What's the most expensive bottle that I've bought easily? Like, I'm paying that.
I will tell you what it is. It's Rare Perfection because I bought it for you. It's Rare Perfection, 15-year-old cast strength out of Preservation Distillery at $199. You've paid that more than once.
Yeah.
So that's where you're going.
And I've paid more than that actually for other stuff. But yeah, this is a $200 bottle of whiskey.
All right. So Dwayne,
Yeah.
somebody wants to walk out with this because, by the way, my rating, this is in absolute blue. It's as blue.
It's as blue.
It's as blue as the label on the bottle. This is a unicorn for the liquid that's in it. I see the finger walker. Stick it for right now. As the label on the bottle is blue, this is absolutely a blue. Absolutely. It is truly unique. So I know you're going to go with the blue. You picked it.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
I'm a little biased.
So unanimously, hopefully you were implicitly biased, and that's good. 100% blue. We've got what? 120, 200. What'd I say? 179, 180? Yeah, call it 180. I know I'm nowhere near it.
Okay. Yeah, I have a good memory, so I'm going to charge that for all y'all whenever y'all come by. No, $59.99.
$59.99. This is a steal.
Crazy.
At $59.99. An absolute steal. So that means Father Glaude at $120, you get to wear the What Would You Pay championship belt chain for the rest of the night. If you want to find this bottle, go to Ambassador Wine and Spirits. Remember the Implicit Bias Liquor Collective. It's on the shelf now, correct, Dwayne?
Absolutely. Hit the shelves on Friday.
Okay. Well, and that's not going to be the Friday that we dropped on podcast. It's the Friday before.
Correct.
So you better hurry because I got a feeling this one's not going to last. A fantastic offering, Ambassador Wine and Spirits. Cheers, Dwayne. Thank you for bringing this on the show. Hopefully this interview was as painless as possible. Maybe we made it a little more painful on purpose, but that's just us having fun. And we will be back with more Implicit Bias Radio right after this. Cheers. Function, not form on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. New members of the crew we're going to introduce you to. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. Co-host Caleb Morris is out this week. We wish him the best. He's at F1. We may actually see him on television when F1 airs, the day after this episode airs as well. Just look for the big guy, straw hat. Funny, he might be wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Shocker. So we have tasted this JT Mellick, which comes from Implicit Bias Liquor Collective member Ambassador Wine and Spirits. It is a single barrel cask strength at 122 proof. And we're going to introduce you to our newest member of the crew just so he can give you his thoughts on this as well, right here out of the gate. G, the G-Man, that might be just your nickname here on the show. He is Jared Brasso of Zero de Saison, the official cocktail mixer of Implicit Bias Radio. Welcome to the show. What do you think of the podcast, Larry?
Man, thanks for having me. This is phenomenal. I didn't know what to expect either. So walking in here, this is the coolest room I've ever been in.
Okay, we try to be honest on here. You don't have to lie. I'm just saying. And I really don't want to spit this whiskey through my nose at 122 because it drinks really smooth, but I'm sure the nostrils might have a little to say about that if it goes that direction.
I felt like Dwayne, maybe downplayed it a little bit. It's a very nice room.
Okay, so you had some really nice things to say about this JT Mellick available at Ambassador Wine and Spirits.
So, I don't have any hesitation in saying that this is the best JT Mellick I've ever had by leaps and bounds. It's phenomenal. The nose is great. The nose is complicated, which I really like. And then once you taste it, you get a lot of sweet on the front end. And then all of a sudden this rye spice just kind of slaps you around. And if you dig that, this is your jam. Like, this is great stuff. And I like complexities in whiskeys. And I think this is one of those that knocks it out of the park.
I absolutely agree with you because it is deep. It is mature. It is refined. It is subtle yet bold at the same time. It hits all the notes that you want to hit. It's got just that little bit of spice, which doesn't register a ton on my palate, but it registers just enough to give you some of that acid that you want with that big, beautiful caramel, soft, plush, just beauty that it is.
It's like a pillow.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's like two beautiful pillows, two beautiful, plush, luxurious pillows.
Wait, what are we talking about?
The whiskey and pillows.
Two
Yeah, I sleep
big,
with two pillows.
beautiful pillows.
I sleep with two pillows.
Okay, I was going somewhere else.
I was about to say, where was your mind?
You know exactly where it was.
Right where mine was.
I'm over here drinking. Y'all are going sideways.
This is just one of the prettiest whiskeys
It's beautiful.
I think I've had. Honestly, it's a gorgeous color. I don't know if you can see that on the camera.
So,
But this is just a beautiful whiskey.
You're exactly right. Like, back to the price tag, like, you could gift this to someone and they would completely be blown away.
Yes. This is one that will convert someone to a JT Mellick drinker forever. Like the Sandlot, forever. Because it's that special, it's that unique. And people don't know what to expect a lot of times. This is going to knock them over. Speaking of being knocked over, not in a good way, Maxine Waters was on camera the other day, and I almost got knocked over. And we were talking about function over form on the show. And I got asked this question several times in the last couple of weeks. Father's like, where is Kevon going with this? I was asked if we were going to talk government shutdown. And Maxine Waters actually jumped on camera and started talking about, we are not going to go in and vote for the government to reopen until we get XYZ. Why is this a perfect function over form conversation? Because the question is, I know that there have been a very small amount of people whose lives maybe have been affected by the government shutdown. And this is why it fits on this show. We are really going to talk government shutdown when government shutdown really affects a majority of Americans' lives day to day. So you can talk about all the things that you want, when in reality, every day that goes by, Americans figure out more and more just how much they don't need the function of the government for the form that it was costing us. So I'm curious, anybody here had a major impact because the government has been shut down?
Is the government shut down?
Yes, the government is shut down.
Right.
And I love it. We've officially rendered the Top Secret podcast layer speechless here for a minute.
15 days now.
15 days.
They said it's the fifth longest shutdown in American history.
15 days and the fifth longest shutdown in American history. And if you actually look at some of the betting websites, there's a site called Polymarket, which keeps track of where bets are and what the chances are of certain things happening based upon the wages. There's a 68% chance, according to Polymarket, that it will last more than 30. Again, are the roads still functioning? Are the ROADs still functioning? Yes, they are. Is law enforcement still functioning? Yes, it is. Is the military getting paid? Yes, it will. Will the WIC program still be funded? Yes, it will. Which means that all of the bureaucrats who are there focusing on the form of looking good and making it look like they are actually doing something, we're figuring out that their function might not be that high. I do have some favorite moments, though, of the 15 days and the shutdown that we have experienced. Anybody else have any favorite moments before I give mine? Because my favorite moments might resonate with people who not just are out there listening and watching the show on our socials. If you're watching on X or Facebook or YouTube, wherever, you might identify with this. And this is one of those things like we can identify with because we're just like relating to it, not going off the rails. This people will identify with. My favorite was the announcement that there were going to be, and I don't want to see anybody put out of a job. Let me start there. But I would rather see the tens of thousands of people that are not going to work for the IRS maybe go to work somewhere else. Maybe, just maybe, they go to work somewhere else. Father's laughing over there.
I'm actually shaking my head in agreement.
Oh, okay. I thought you were snickering. I thought you were giving us what was the laughter, the cartoon that had the guy that laughed all the time? Come on, Burley. You're older than everybody in here.
Woody Woodpecker?
No,
Guy that laughed all
that was
the
a
time.
different one. You had one, but he laughed like a hyena almost. We'll think about this. My old brain just can't quite reconcile this.
Cartoon?
Yeah, cartoon. Yeah. Anyway, that's where I thought you were going with this, was just sitting over there in pure laughter, because at the end of the day, we are now figuring out that what the economists all told us with tariffs is now wrong.
Right.
That tariffs are now paying for many of the government programs that allegedly taxes were paying for. And guess what? We don't need all the middlemen in the way to actually pay for them. Mm-hmm. We are currently, in our opinion, making the case for smaller and smaller government every single day.
Well, Doge did that right off the bat.
Well, Doge told us where there was a lot of fraud.
And
right
waste
away.
and abuse.
Yes.
I mean, but yeah, this is going to that next step.
Yeah, the next step is, do we really need this person, this office, this position?
Do
Jake?
we really need to kick in that much?
Correct.
I think that's exactly the point. If you go back to pre-tariff, so let's go back to when the tariffs were relinquished, right around World War II. When that took place, they never came back. We basically funded the world.
Correct.
At that point. And so what the government is currently doing, at least the good side of the government that we all probably agree with, is they've reinstated this tariff as a way to fund everything that we're doing, rather than building it on the backs of all the taxpayers.
Correct.
Which is what needs to happen. We're all small business owners. We understand that we have been the brunt of everything for the last 20 years or so. And so it's time for that to change. And I think that that's exactly to your point, where the tariffs come into play, is they are working and they are doing what was always intended.
This is the funny part about tariffs that I think the economists know, but they don't want to say out loud. And it's this. It's that tariffs are designed to go exactly where you went, G, which is when you say we funded the world, not the American government, the American taxpayer funded the world. We went from the world having to pay for access to our markets to turning around and saying, we're going to give you unfettered access, and we're then going to take from the people who work in this country and send it to you back overseas. Instead of now where we are, which is what economists missed in this, in my opinion, which is the middlemen who were in between the manufacturers in foreign countries who were bringing it in, the importers, had so much margin. And look, these numbers are out there. Please don't believe me on this. I've talked to enough people who actually said, somebody in the liquor industry getting all their stuff from France said, we saw these tariffs in Trump's first term. You know what we did? We ate it. Wait a minute. You had enough margin that you could eat the tariff and not pass it on? Yes. It tells you where the money was going. Money was being siphoned off of the consumer and the worker in the US, and then the government was being used to send it back overseas. Now what we're seeing is people have to pay to get into this market, and they are producing so much. Their supply chains are so mature that if we give them just a little bit of time, they'll choke on their supply chain, which means they're going to have to do what? They're going to have to drop the price. So the pricing won't be an issue, and it's literally going to shift revenue and wealth in this country from the elite, who are the stockholders who are siphoning money off the top, back to the people at the bottom, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to start building in America. They're going to have to start making in America. They're going to have to start giving money back to the American worker. And that is what was missed. When we come back, we are going to go to an American distiller. We actually are going to have a guest remote into Implicit Bias Radio. It's going to be for a whiskey that we actually reviewed on a previous episode when we were back at Mr. Lester Steakhouse, which, by the way, we're going to talk about their specials at the end of hour one on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. Implicit Bias Radio, wrapping up hour one. This is our final segment, but look, we always have great stuff in our second segment or second hour and the last segment of hour one. And this week is absolutely no exception. So let me start here. In the top secret podcast layer presented by Mr. Lester's, Burley short pour Pellerin. And yes, he is complaining about the initial pour that he got, as always.
But I've since rectified the situation, so
Yeah,
I'm good.
About 4 or 5 times.
4 times, I think, right now.
At the bar, Father Taj Glaude doing his best to keep us Catholic here on Implicit Bias Radio. We always try to stay Catholic Christian. We don't ever really honestly succeed because, let's face it, the only person who did, we kind of put him to death. Yeah, and that's what it took to make us Catholic and Christian. And then, of course, also at the bar with him, G Brasso. We're just going to call him G from here on out. He is with, and it's with more than just one, he is with Zero Trading Company, the official cocktail mixer of Implicit Bias Radio. Hour 2 is always more fun, by the way. Why? Because, well, we've been tasting whiskey through hour 1, and we've been tasting some fantastic whiskey here. This JT Mellick, available at Ambassador Wine and Spirits. And G is going to make cocktails in hour 2, so you don't want to miss that. What you also don't want to miss, and if you're a fan of the show and you've already listened to some of our previous episodes, if you missed this episode, I'm going to tell you, go back and find this one. This one is titled, It's All in the Family, because it's all about family on Implicit Bias Radio. And this is a new member of the Implicit Bias Radio family. This is Andre Regard. He is with, and make sure I get this right, Andre, Kentucky Senator Distilling Company, correct?
It's just Kentucky Senator Bourbon.
Kentucky Senator Bourbon. Okay. I wanted to make sure we got that right. So Kentucky Senator Bourbon, but y'all don't just make a Kentucky Senator Bourbon, correct?
Correct. We just did our first brand extension into Louisiana. So I'm originally from New Iberia. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, the center of the bourbon industry and the horse industry, the international horse industry. And I started my brand about 5 years ago. But because I was from Louisiana, and we'll talk more about the brand, we just did a brand extension, Louisiana Senator Bourbon, the Huey Long release.
Okay. So Burley, do you remember the Huey Long release, which we sampled at Mr. Lester Steakhouse?
I want to say I did.
Oh, you
I
did.
do.
You just drank too much of it.
Probably. Probably. Those are some fun nights.
They are fun
we
nights.
did that.
So here's what I remember. I remember it was an absolute blue. We have been fortunate to have some really good whiskey here on Implicit Bias Radio. And that Louisiana Senator at 107 proof was absolutely fantastic. If you remember, a little lighter, but it gave a long finish, gave you those nice notes of caramel. And I think this is the way I described it. If you've ever had caramel custard or flan,
Right.
depending
Flan.
upon
Yep.
where you've had it, French dessert became Spanish, then became part of most Mexican restaurants here in Lafayette. You get that light caramel sauce on it.
Mhm.
And Andre, it reminded me of that light caramel sauce. Delicious. The proof was perfect on it. Drank very, very well. How did you guys come to decide? I know because you're from Louisiana, but how did you decide to make Louisiana a part of Kentucky Senator Bourbon?
Well, that's a good question. There's a few reasons. we're talking about Catholicism earlier. One of the reasons why the Bardstown area of Kentucky is where our distilling industry really began was because of the Catholic influence of German and Irish Catholics that came here from Maryland, and they settled in that area, and it's called Bardstown, like a bard. Actually, the second oldest cathedral in the United States is located in Bardstown. So as we were doing our bourbon, Kentucky Senator Bourbon is what the brand is. We're a non-distillery producer, so we source all of our bourbon. Each of our bourbons is named after a different U.S. senator from Kentucky. We have 66 of them in Kentucky, so we have a long way to go. So our whole idea is to acquire and source the best bourbon we can find and introduce it and release it to the public with a little bit of history. So each of our releases is different. We've done some verticals. We've sourced from 6 different distilleries. So as we were going through it, because I was from Louisiana, of course, I wanted to do a Louisiana release, but we wouldn't have bourbon if it wasn't for Louisiana. So what makes bourbon is it was distilled in Kentucky using the excess grain that we had, and then they brought it up to the Ohio River through Maysville or through Louisville. The waterfalls were in Louisville, so that's why Louisville exists. It was a portage site. And then that bourbon was put on flatboats, that whiskey in the barrels, and those barrels were marked Bourbon County, Kentucky, and that whiskey went down the river to New Orleans. And then when it got to New Orleans and was unloaded, those barrels, which were stamped Bourbon County, Kentucky, people would drink that whiskey, and instead of saying, I want some of that whiskey or I want some of that Kentucky whiskey, they started saying, I want some of that bourbon whiskey. So that's kind of the history behind bourbon. Of course, there's the French connection between Bourbon County, yep, Kentucky and South Louisiana. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, which is in Fayette County, and we have Lafayette. So all of those types of connections come in. As a matter of fact, our release last year, which was the John Brown, who was the first U.S. Senator from Kentucky, he was classmates with Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. When Thomas Jefferson did the Louisiana Purchase, John Brown's brother, James Brown, became the first governor of the territory of Louisiana. So there's just all of this history between Kentucky and Louisiana. So we want to, show some of that history and recognize some of that history. So it was a natural extension to go to Louisiana.
So you had actually 2 releases of the Louisiana Senator on this first one. You had one at 107, and then you had one at 115, correct?
Correct. Each of our releases, we normally do a single barrel or a number of single barrels and then a small batch. However, the Louisiana single barrel, which was released at 115, was the first time we've gone over 107. So 107 is the historic high proof in bourbon for consumption, because most distilleries used to go in at 110 proof. By the time you aged it, 107 was a safe place where you could end up. Now people are going in the barrel 115, 120, 125 is pretty common now. Our position is that if you go into the barrel at a lower proof, you actually get more of the flavors from the barrel. So we're currently have almost 1,000 barrels of bourbon in inventory. And while we don't distill our own bourbon, we are controlling the maturation process. So going into the barrel and the barrel proof's a big deal for us of where you go in. So 107 was kind of an historic number. Antique 107, yep. Some of the other Pappy products are at 107. So, it's a nice high proof. You get a little more value because you get more alcohol in it, but it's still very drinkable. So we like 107.
We kind of believe that life begins at 115 here on Implicit Bias Radio. I mean, we're proof hounds. We know it. We've gotten accustomed to it. And as you probably hear us talk, you'll learn, man, we just think that when proofing is done right, you can hit that 115, 120 and not even know it. So we've got a minute left in this segment. I do want to ask, you have more releases coming for Louisiana, correct?
That's right. So the Huey Long is part of a 3-bottle series. We're going to do an 8-year, 9-year, 10-year release. So we've already pulled all those barrels aside. We've already staged them for the next 2 years following it. So it's a vertical in the sense that we started with 18 barrels that came from the same lot. Now we did these blends in collaboration with Denny Potter and Jane Bowie, who both used to be at Maker's Mark and started the Potter Jane Distillery. So they've assisted us in doing this blend. So we've already kind of staged it out. We don't quite know what we're going to do for the second and third release, but we're kind of leaning into maybe doing it all along because, when Huey was assassinated, his wife Rose became the first female U.S. senator, only the third one in the country. And then, of course, years later, his son Russell becomes a very long-term U.S. senator. So it'd be kind of neat to recognize the political history of Louisiana. It's the only state in the country that had a father a father, mother, son Senate
Yeah.
run. So
Yeah.
it'd be kind of fun.
Only Louisiana can do. I'm not going to say we do nepotism. Let's use the nice word. Only we can do nepotism like that, right? It's
Do it
always
pretty
fun.
well.
We appreciate you coming on the show, and we urge people because look, we rated the 107 release a blue. If you can find it in your area, trust me, you will not be disappointed. We appreciate you coming in. We look forward to one day you making it into the TSPL when you're back towards home, towards New Iberia. Cheers, and we're looking forward to the next release. Thanks, Andre.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Cheers. We'll be back hour 2 of Implicit Bias Radio right after this. It's cocktail hour on Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. Our usual co-host is not here, but we have a more than capable. Well, I don't know about more than capable. Maybe capable. Well, maybe less than capable. No, we have short, poor Burley Pellerin sitting in the chair that Caleb Morse is normally in. Burley,
So
I
is
hope you've
this-
had fun so far.
I've had a blast so far. This is I'm enjoying this show a lot. But is this no longer the chair of intoxication? Do we not refer to this as
No.
the chair of intoxication? Going back 5 years
Correct.
now, this used to be called the chair of intoxication.
That's actually incorrect. We had a chair of intoxication. It was always the chair to my
your right. I'm sorry. You're right.
not the chair to my left.
You're right.
So therefore, the chair of intoxication would be the man who is providing cocktails for us here this week on Implicit
So there
Bias
it is.
Radio. He is a new member of the crew, and we are thrilled to have him because Zero Trading Company is the official cocktail mixer of Implicit Bias Radio, and we are having cocktails on Implicit Bias Radio. First of all, Zero, and this is why I love being able to do business, not necessarily for myself, for my wife and kids, but not have to worry about anybody else being involved, is because we do our best on this show. Well, I'd say we do our best. We've been 100% successful so far at this. We only do business with people that we would have into our homes. And Zero has been in my home now for years. It is the old-fashioned mix. Sirop de Claire, the clear, simple syrup. The Amer is the bitter. It's what I've used in my home. So when we started having these conversations, I was thrilled, not just because I can back the product, but because now you're going to have to give me all this for free. I'm kidding.
You wouldn't be the first.
I'm sure I wouldn't be the first, but okay. So old fashioned.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a quick little story. So does anyone know where the old fashioned cocktail was originated? Do you know where the name comes from?
I actually don't.
Okay. So back in the 1850s, when cocktails first became kind of famous, so the Sazerac, so Louisiana naturally created the first cocktail. I mean, would you expect anything else? Right?
Correct. Well, you have the Sazerac bar in the Roosevelt Hotel, and
Correct.
You've got Sazerac, which is a brand that's owned in New Orleans. It's been owned in New Orleans for generations. So yeah, I can see that
You
connection.
can see that connection. So Antoine Peychaud created the first cocktail with the Sazerac. So after he created that cocktail, which is basically herb saint liqueur, some sugar, some bitters, and a little bit of water and a rye whiskey, that became kind of the foundation for every cocktail. So the cocktail became sugar, bitters, water, and spirits, no matter what kind of cocktail it was. Gin
Okay.
cocktail, rum cocktail, whiskey cocktail, whatever. So in the 1880s, there was a huge influx of liqueurs. So pineapple liqueur, orange liqueur, like Cointreau,
So
things like that.
is that why like most of the girls I dated were doing like amaretto and pineapple when they were, I hate to say when we were in high school, but I mean,
think-
that's kind of, it was a thing.
I think there was another reason, but we'll go into that later. So the liqueurs started kind of so bartenders were really excited, right? You got new toys to
Yeah.
play with, so they started doing new things. Well, most people didn't like that. So they were like, well, I don't want that. I don't want that pineapple whiskey cocktail. I want an old-fashioned whiskey cocktail. Hence the name.
Nice.
So that's where it came from.
Okay.
Nice.
And it makes total sense, which we a lot of times find out that things that are commonplace today and we take for granted literally just make sense. Why? Because of function over form.
And you know, as a former English teacher, I got to tell you that it's an old-fashioned.
Correct.
Okay. So,
Correct. Yeah.
so
And sometimes
please
we lose it.
Feel
We-
free to correct anyone
That's
you
right.
see.
I always do, by
My
the
kids
way.
would be so happy that I would be
I
correcting. other people.
always do.
Oh yeah, and we lose it when people say I just want an old fashioned, right? Because a lot of times just the way that, especially we pronounce things here in Southern Louisiana, we lose the last syllable.
of everything.
Yeah,
that's
of
correct.
everything.
That's correct. So yeah, exactly. So
Give
that's
me
kind of
$5. I need $5.
$5. Or I went to an auction one time. I'm not gonna name the guy, but he was doing the auction and he said 5 olives And I was like, did he just say olives? I think he said olives instead of dollars. And he didn't. He said dollars, but it just sounded like olives. You know?
Okay.
$5 here, $5 here. And so, all right, there you go.
Okay, so an old fashioned is typically straight, very simple recipe. It's usually 2 ounces of whiskey. It's usually a measure, whatever that measure might be, of the simple
should
syrup.
it always be rye if you're making a true old fashioned?
So the original old fashioned pre-prohibition would have been rye.
Would have been rye
After
whiskey.
prohibition,
It became bourbon.
It became bourbon.
Okay.
But you can make it either way,
Sure.
depending upon what your
I
palate
made
is,
for you
correct?
tonight is a high rye,
Ugh,
a 21% rye bourbon, which is kind of my favorite. Now,
kick me right in the feels.
I didn't bring the foolproof version of this whiskey. I wish I would have, because I think it's a better cocktail. I think for the guys in this group, it would have been more whiskey forward.
I was about to say.
This is my wife's old fashioned. Like the guy's old fashioned,
A little more sweet than normal, correct.
Correct. And I still think that we have the recipe on the side of the bottle where we call out a half an ounce of syrup to 2 ounces. And I think that that's a good ratio. If you want it more whiskey forward, 1/3 of an ounce to 2 ounces, it'll really stand up. And then use something 100 proof or better. My favorite go-to has always been Old Grandad 114
Okay.
because it's priced right
Yeah.
to make a cocktail, but it's so good. I'm really turned on lately by Green River and what
They
Green
make
River's
really
doing.
good stuff. Yes.
So the Green River Foolproof, if you can get it, is phenomenal in this, because their regular mash bill has that 21% rye,
Nice.
and I think it really stands up in the cocktail.
So, and I'll tell you, it's funny that you say you can adjust the ratios depending upon your palate. What we typically do in our house, and I said I've used this in my home a lot, I am a huge Pure Kentucky fan. We've had Pure Kentucky on this show. The label says Pure Kentucky. It's 107 proof. So you've got enough proof to it where it can be enough spirit forward, yet it's at what you mentioned, it's priced right to make a cocktail with it. But you get beautiful flavors. Now, what I typically do is I look at it and I say, all right, I do 3 ounces of bourbon because I'm making essentially like a 1.5, not a double.
Right.
And I use a 1/2 ounce of Syrah to 3 ounces of the bourbon.
I think that's gonna, like, for my palate, my
That's-
personal palate, that's perfect.
It's not oversweet.
correct.
It is just sweet enough. And what I love about Syrah is, number one, I don't have to keep it in my refrigerator. Number two, that means that it's going to mix and stay mixed. Correct?
That is, I'm telling you that is the selling point. So y'all didn't watch me make these cocktails, but Father did. And all I did was take a shot glass with 1.5 ounces of whiskey and then basically fill it just a little smidge up, like maybe a teaspoon on top of that, and then poured it over ice. That is it. There is no shaking. There is no stirring. So to your point, when you don't have to refrigerate, I mean, everyone has steamed syrup in their house.
Yeah.
If you put steamed syrup in the fridge, you are not pouring that.
You're not
No.
pouring anything.
I mean, it will never pour.
I had a conversation with people because I love honey in my house. And I go to the honey guy that you have to know where he lives and you got to be on the
I
honor
heard about
system.
this guy.
Right?
I need to
Yes.
know.
I
this
know
guy.
exactly
Yes.
where it is.
And
I know who he is.
I buy them by the big jar, multiple jars at a time. But someone
On
in
the
my
honor
house,
system.
Yeah, someone in my house puts them where the air condition is blowing on the cabinet, right where they sit. So literally, I go to open them up and they're solid. And I got to,
Yeah, you gotta
I gotta
heat it
put them,
up.
I got to
Right.
put them in a bottle. I got to put them in a water bath and go through all that. So we know what happens if something isn't, and the honey's still good, but it's not shelf stable. It gets cold.
It crystallizes.
It crystallizes.
Yeah.
This,
So the great thing about what Zero is it's shelf stable for at least 2 years, unopened. Opened, at least a year.
Oh,
I
it
mean,
won't
I
last
haven't.
a month in my
Listen,
house.
if I tell people all the time, if it takes you more than a year to drink this, call me. I'll come help you out.
yeah, yeah.
I know a guy.
I absolutely agree. So let's go around the horn because I'm going to say this. I'm like you. I like a spirit forward. The flavor on this is fantastic. Would have loved that cask strength. Little more
absolutely.
proof.
Yes.
But oh my goodness, this, go anywhere else. Have a Zero de Saison old fashioned mixed right at your home. Go anywhere else and get an old fashioned. You're not going to be happy. I'm just saying.
8 out of 10 times.
And
So why is that? What's the common denominator? Is it's the person making it
correct.
and the consistency of what they're using to make it. So that's where I think Zero stands out, is if you want this in your bar, let's say you want this in your home bar. We know that you're going to knock it out of the park with any of your friends that come over and you make them an old fashioned. But from a restaurant standpoint, on premise, you're going to be consistent in every cocktail that you make. And it doesn't matter if John, Cindy, or Jeremy's making the syrup today. This is going to be consistent day in and day out.
And it's a premium, right?
It is.
It is just, it's a premium old fashioned. It is one of the best old fashions you'll have. Burley.
Because
Because
you're talking about 50 cents a cocktail.
Gee, in most bars, are they using simple syrup?
Most bars are using straight simple syrup. So basically sugar and water.
Right. That you don't know who made that batch that day. Right?
Yeah.
So the
and generally
consistency is
it's
not
gonna
there.
Be, right. And it's going to be cane sugar. Okay. Not brown sugar.
Yep.
So the Demerara side of it with a little bit more brown sugar. We use brown sugar and cane sugar in ours, along with some organic extracts, which I think add that little bit of pop and complement the bourbon in the back end. That definitely makes a difference.
All right, Father, you're a whiskey guy. I'm curious if now you're going to be an old fashioned guy, because I've seen you at Implicit Birthday. I've seen you at Winter Implicit Dinner. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I've had plenty of old fashions, I should say. One thing I'm going to be very honest about. That has got to be the best old fashioned I have ever had. Period.
Hey, so you can officially say that the best old fashioned you ever had was in the bar for Implicit Bias Radio.
There you
In
go.
the famous words of Shaft, you're damn right.
Look, I love it.
I love it.
And the other funny part is, let's be brutally honest here. I'm not going to say we're whiskey snobs. We're not necessarily whiskey snobs, because if we were really whiskey snobs, we would not rate as many things as highly as we rate so many things. But we do drink a lot of good whiskey. What we are is we're aficionados. We like the good stuff. And if it's good, we'll call it good. We are the same way with cocktails, which means if we'll call the good good, it also means that we'll call the what.
The bad.
bad.
Correct.
Yeah.
As Poo Poo Broussard would say, bad.
Two
Matt,
A's.
Matt, my
bad.
Matt, my
Chap,
lips,
chap.
my lips is chap
They
chap.
chap chap. They chap chap.
Woo!
Gee.
This is
Okay,
fantastic.
so I'm not an old fashioned drinker. I don't like to mix my whiskeys, my bourbons. I like it neat. I very seldom put it over ice even. This is very good. I will absolutely give you that. I do wish it would have had a little more of the
proof.
Yeah.
of the kick to it.
That's
so
what your
with
girlfriend
what,
told me.
With what you what she told me. So with what you put here, what whiskey did you mix?
So
and can I still get the flavor of the old fashioned if you top this off a little bit for
Absolutely.
me?
If I added you another ounce and a half of this 90 proof Green River, you would get more pop.
let
less
me
sweet.
let me try that just because I'm curious of
So, and that's
just because it's a little too sweet for me, but that's just because I don't mix.
well, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's all about balancing your ratios in a cocktail and getting your ratios right.
It is.
Right.
So the cocktail that I made you is what we recommend for everyone.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is very
the
is
group-
very good.
the group in
please
this
don't
room
take that the
It's
wrong
not
way.
everyone.
Whoa,
And
are
I
you
say
saying
that
we're
in the-
special?
I say that in
Like-
the nicest
like-
way.
like-
Not short yellow bus special, but like good,
Hey,
regular.
my wife would say that about me, and that's okay. She'd be right. Ring the bell.
That I will ring the bell right there. That is much
That's
better.
better?
Much better for me.
yeah.
That is a very good drink. I would love to serve that to someone else because I know what an old fashioned is supposed to taste like. It's just not something that sits well on my palate.
Right.
At
And
that
I
level.
think it's because going back to your conversation earlier, this is the first time I met you, but you talked when you were talking about the JT Mellick and the fact that you like that rye
Yes.
that much. I think that is what you're looking for
Yes.
as a palate. And so you're going to find things that suit that palate. And this is probably not one of those things unless it's got that high rye content with a higher proof where it would stand up.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So generally, when we tell people, maybe we need to augment the label on the bottle. Maybe we need one recipe for everyone, and then an implicit bias recipe underneath.
I don't know about all that. Then we're gonna have people blaming us for
Right.
for 5
But those guys
120
told
proof
me
cocktails in a night.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look. So I will tell you that generally when I batch old fashions, So the ratio that we use is we normally use 100 proof bourbon. Okay. When I'm making batches for like an event, and we use 4 ounces of bourbon. I'm sorry, 4 ounces of Ciro to a gallon of bourbon.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, a fifth of bourbon. So in that fifth, you're putting 4 ounces, which basically comes out to about between a third and a half an ounce per 2 ounce cocktail.
I was about to say, you've got what, 26 ounces?
25.4.
25.4 ounces per
So-
bottle.
So that's kind of how the ratio falls out. And that's going to be generally at 100 proof, that's going to be a somewhat bourbon forward old fashioned.
Yeah. And those, look, if it tastes good, I like it. And this, if you think you don't like an old fashioned, if you've been to a restaurant and ordered an old fashioned and been like, oh, that's no good, this is the one you have to have. If you're like Walker and you tried one and you went, oh my God, this is terrible. No.
I'm pretty sure
What,
Walker's
Walker?
never said that.
Thank you, Burley. I have not.
I'm gonna
Especially
jump on you right there, Kavan.
Go
I'm
ahead.
pretty sure Walker's never said that. And he certainly never said it. Isn't that though? I never said it.
I don't know. We can ask his girlfriend. I'm sure she'll tell us. Father Glove.
Like I said, I was actually watching him make these old fashions, and partly because I'm trying to learn how to make one myself. I've never made a cocktail outside of a Moscow Mule. Never messed with an old fashioned because I just don't trust myself with it. And really, every old fashioned you're gonna have is different because usually, like we said earlier, usually what they have is the simple syrup, or they'll have the little sugar sticks.
Yep.
And the whiskey is probably something like Maker's Mark, Jack Daniels. I mean,
Yep. Something very, very plain, very simple, very customary.
exactly.
And look, Father, making an old fashioned, it is like an out of work actress. It is easy. When I tell you that making an old fashioned is so simple, don't overcomplicate it. It's those basic ingredients. It is a simple syrup. It is a whiskey. It is bitters. Then it is a cherry. And look, you want to use the right cherry. Don't just use a maraschino cherry that you buy at the grocery store.
No,
use
that sweet syrup.
use one that is in a true Marasca sauce, which is typically like a Luxardo cherry, something like that. And then it is an orange peel. If you get a half an orange, trust me, a fruit basket does not make an old fashioned.
No.
An old fashioned is made by the peel of the orange, so that when you stick your nose in it, it smells like those awesome orange candies my dad used to eat by the handful, covered in sugar.
Oh, covered in sugar?
That's what it
Yuck.
should smell
Yes.
like.
That's
Yes.
exactly what I got off of this
I
one.
think
And I said,
orange slices.
I think the way it's supposed
I'm
to
using
work
this.
though is just being consistent and being comfortable in your process, right? And when you're making it, you can almost do it while having a conversation, or you should be able to do it while having a conversation.
Absolutely.
Because you're doing the same thing the same way. And the only caveat might be when somebody says, hey, make mine just a little bit stronger. I don't want the sweet. So you don't want to dilute the sweet. You want to increase maybe
Yeah, I think
whiskey.
I agree with you totally. I think the caveat on old fashions, the reason everyone in general is disappointed when you order one at a restaurant is because it's either sugar water
Right.
or
And it's bad sugar water. I worked in bars for years.
Yes.
That stuff was garbage.
yes, or you get the muddled fruit and then it's like a fruit basket, like you were
Yep.
where it's whiskey.
It's murky,
on
it's
top-
cloudy.
Exactly. And it's on top of all the muddled fruit. Like nobody wants that because that was never the intention of the cocktail.
Everybody, though, does want us to come back in the next segment because Walker's given me the finger like 3 times. The 1 minute finger, just in case you're asking. We'll be back. More Implicit Bias Radio. G, Father Glaude, Short Pour, me, Kavan Bordelon, right after this. Short Pour Pellerin is world famous in Acadiana on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. What's so funny about that? You're
least in
world famous
Abbeville.
in Acadiana. Okay.
I went 11 miles south and somebody recognized me.
This is Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kavan Bordelon. Great crew here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL. And I hate that we've gotten this far into the show and didn't talk about what Mr. Lester's is doing in the month of October. One of the reasons I kind of waited is because they just may not have any left at this point. Burley, do you know what the Mr. Lester's implicit bias special is?
God, you put me on the spot. I did remember because I was here just a couple of weeks ago and we talked about it then.
So
But
in September, it was a $5 pour of what? Do you remember?
God, come on.
E.H. Taylor.
In September, it was E.H. Taylor.
E.H. Taylor. Yep.
What is outrageous October? $5 pour of. Go ahead, G.
Blanton's.
Blanton's.
What?
Yes. $5 pours of Blanton's at Mr. Lester Steakhouse. If you ask for the implicit bias pour, and oh, by the way, it's while supplies last. I hate that I have to say that.
And everybody asks, am I limited to just one?
No.
No, you're
$5
$5 a pour. If you want 3 pours, you get 3 pours if they have it.
If you want to drop, what, $130
Yep.
and you want all 26 pours out of the bottle, cheers. Father Glaude, are you volunteering to attempt that? You're going to need the microphone. Are you volunteering?
You'll need a room, Father.
Is Father Glaude going to be the person who attempts to do the entire bottle at a sitting?
I may be crazy, but I'm not stupid. That was me raising my glass, saying I guess it's the German equivalent of cheers, which would be, or Latin, depending on who you ask. Prosit.
Okay, I didn't know if it was Centenario, which is Italian, right? Or Cento, which is Italian for 100 years.
Sure, or if you go Latin, ad multos annos, to many years.
There we go. I like that.
There you go.
I like the Latin.
Well, to many drinks also, but if you do that, you need a room, and you can get a room
yes.
right there at Cypress Bayou at the hotel.
Speaking of if you want to go, we actually have to talk about the Implicit Bias Liquor
We do.
Collective and what's going on, because November 15th is what, Burley, at Mr. Lester Steakhouse?
It's dinner.
Cut him off. Winner, implicit dinner.
Winner,
the
implicit
chair of
dinner.
intoxication has moved to my left, not my
it's
right.
on your left now.
It is.
Well, he gave me a damn old fashioned and it threw me off.
It is winner,
Implicit dinner on November 15th. Yes.
So all 5 locations of the Implicit Bias Liquor Collective. All you have to do is walk in, scan the QR code, give the information that's needed. You are entered to win. No purchase necessary. Whether that is Benny's in Opelousas, Champagne's in Karen Crow, Ambassador Wine and Spirits, whether it is Champagne's in Abbeville or Nunu's at the Maurice and Youngsville locations.
Yep.
Or go to Gambino's, walk in, scan the QR code. Go to William S. Nacall Jewelers, scan the QR code. Go to Piper's Haven, scan the QR code. Go to the Rustic Renegade, shoot the range. They've got it all set up. Just tell them you want to enter. They will let you shoot. If you get onto the leaderboard on your free entry, you are entered to win. If you beat Caleb, I would say beat me and Caleb. If you beat Caleb, because obviously he's
It should
way
be
ahead
if
of
you
me.
beat me, because that'd be more realistic.
Yeah, but then we'd have to give it away to everybody.
Come on, no. I'm not.
I'm messing with you,
Come on
Burley.
now. But wait, we always tell you that the second hour is much more fun.
This is why.
This is why.
Absolutely. Enter to win. Winner, implicit dinner. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.
November 15th.
And here's what we cover. Here's what Mr. Lester's is generous enough to cover. You get there, you go into the hotel, your name will be at the desk. They will sign you in, they won't even take a card for incidentals. You will then go into Mr. Lester Steakhouse. The cigar lounge and the cigar dining room are sectioned off just for winner, implicit dinner. We cover food, booze, and that hotel room that you get to stay in until the next day. Because trust me, if you eat the food,
And drink the drink.
you're gonna need a hotel room.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
as Renee would say, you're gonna need a nap. He's not wrong.
Most of us take a nap
Correct.
and then continue on.
Correct.
Later.
Correct. All right. So let's dive into function over form. And I love where we were going with this, because I was like, all right, what story are we covering? And now I remembered in the time that I was vamping there, which is just extending the time just a little bit so I could remember what I was talking about. No, here's where we are. And it's this. I could have sworn that there were millions of people who told us that electronic voting machines are safe, effective, and can't be
Oh,
hacked.
you're not wrong.
Didn't we hear this?
We heard it ad nauseum.
Father Glaude, didn't we hear this?
More times than I care to admit that I heard it.
Gee, did you hear that electronic voting is fair, unhackable, and
Foolproof.
say that again?
Essentially.
Foolproof.
Not foolproof, foolproof, correct?
Correct.
FOOL.
Correct.
Yeah,
Not foolproof like bourbon.
correct.
Right.
Well, foolproof would be fun, but foolproof would be leftist proof. Apparently, now the same people who were telling us that we had, and I want to say, the most secure election ever, are now crying because apparently They believe that elections can be rigged.
Was that the election that more people voted in than were actually registered to vote? Is that the election you're referring
in
to?
some states, that would be absolutely correct.
Yes, the one that
100,
even
100%.
dead people were voting.
No. Look, Father, all I have to say is this. For the first time, my father voted Democrat. He did. He also died 20 years ago, but that's a whole nother story. And I'm not making light of my father passing. What I'm making light of is the fact that somebody probably stole his identity and showed up as Chuck Bordelon in another state and voted with his name. And we know what way they voted.
Either that or they can actually claim they were the only people in American history that actually raised the dead.
Correct. Well, that's a whole nother. We're going to go there. We're going to keep it Catholic because we're going to have fun in maybe the last 2 segments of this show. But now, and here's the story. The story is that Dominion voting systems, let's
long
recall,
hailed
correct,
as
they
preeminent.
sued people. They sued people because people said your system was hacked. You admitted your system could be hacked. They said, no, they weren't even connected to the internet. And we know that's a lie. Please don't believe us on that. Please go look that up. There's plenty of evidence to show those machines were connected to the internet, but they said they couldn't be hacked. Well, Dominion Voting Systems has now been bought, dun, 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 by a Republican.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
What's the new name?
Oh, that I don't know. And
Isn't
to me,
it
doesn't
Freedom?
matter.
Isn't it Freedom
Oh,
Voting System?
that's hysterical.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
It's actually Liberty.
Liberty.
That was even better.
Liberty Voting Systems.
It's even better.
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta say this.
Jump in.
Now, y'all remember the version of Star Trek Deep Space Nine?
I remember it being a thing. I never watched Star Trek. I dated girls.
Same.
I didn't get. Well, I didn't get into it till later on,
Okay, fair.
and
That's a Caleb line. I didn't watch it. Yeah, I get it.
and the antagonists, so to speak, for Deep Space Nine in the later seasons were titled the Dominion, which pretty much wanted to take over the whole. I think it was the Alpha Quadrant, if I'm not mistaken.
In other words, they're telling you what was happening before it happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's actually fitting, so to speak, that it was named Dominion because it had the backing of the very people who rigged the election. Yes, I said they rigged the election and claimed that that the machines were all foolproof, even though they were connected to the internet. Now that it's changed, now that somebody on the other side has bought it, and now the name has changed from Dominion to Liberty.
They're going to cry foul.
I'm trying
They're
to say
going to
this.
cry foul.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to say this with a straight face. Now they're the ones
Correct.
crying foul, and getting their diapers all in a bunch.
Wait, Joe Biden's the one saying this?
All of them, all of the left of the Democratic Party is.
I believe it. And you know what
And
else?
yes, they were diapers. If we've learned anything from the shutdown,
Here's the thing. The hypocrisy is great with these ones because literally the same people who told us that machines couldn't be rigged and elections couldn't be fixed are now screaming that elections are going to be rigged and they're going to be fixed. And that is why we talk about function over form. It's got to work. It's not got to look good. And we have to take a break.
and now they're pushing for mail-in ballots.
Yes.
Again.
And that is the beauty of the system, is that now the same people who said you had to have mail-in ballots are saying, no, we've got to do away with the electronic stuff. We only have to do in-person voting for it to be safe. We'll be back. More Implicit Bias Radio right after this. No one is above the law on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. Why? Because function over form, and I think we may have found the James Bond villain, the Superman villain of 2025. Why do I say that? Not because Lex Luthor showed up, not because someone dressed like the Joker, but this is why. Because someone found a way, someone of prominence found a way to escape property taxes in Illinois. We'll explain that in just a second. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We've got a great crew here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL. That's the top secret podcast lair for the uninitiated, located somewhere in downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. In the chair like mine, he is short pour. You enjoying yourself, Burley?
I'm having a great time.
Good.
today. It's a great night. I've had an old fashioned. I haven't enjoyed an old fashioned ever.
The chair of intoxication is back, and I love it.
It's right here. It
That's
moved
what I
from
mean.
the right to your
That's
left.
what I
and
mean.
I'm here.
I love
I
this.
proved it earlier that this should be the chair of intoxication. We should coin that for
Dude,
Caleb also.
you had
because
you had the ESPN.
I did have the
You've done
ESPN.
predicting the future.
I did. You see, I know where it's going. You're going to rename the chair after me right here. Caleb may sit here most often.
Okay, so what you're telling me is it now has to become the Burley Short Pour Pellerin Memorial Chair of Intoxication.
There you go. Not memorial. I'm not going anywhere yet. But just the namesake would fit.
Look, it's like Sam. Rest in peace.
Rest in
right.
peace.
He's not actually dead. Just don't. He's just dead to us because he left
We love
the show.
Sam.
We
We
do.
love
we love
some Sam.
He's
We
still,
love some
as far
Sam.
as we know, he's still walking around and breathing. He's
I
not.
think so. I'm
we
pretty
hope
sure.
so.
I hope so.
But he is dead to us because he did leave the show. Anyway, so we've got Burley Short Pour. We've got Father Taj Glaude at the bar. Father, it is great to have you back here on the show. I hope you have enjoyed the ride in, and hopefully it was worth it so far.
Oh, very much. I don't know if I told you, I came here, straight here, directly from the gym.
Good.
Had a good workout, and came straight here, and I've been having a blast. This is the next to the gym. Well, actually,
Father,
this is above the gym.
I was about to say, maybe
This
we're
is
above
the
the gym, but we're definitely not the best on your list of things you need to do in your life because you deal with
You're
God
called
more
to
than
better.
any of us every day.
Yeah, exactly.
You are here to keep us Catholic, not the other way around.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to make that obvious, but I mean,
I'll make it obvious. If we can admit it, we're okay, right? Last person here is a new member of the Implicit Bias crew. We're just going to call him G, although G's just almost too easy of a nickname, Burley. But we'll come up with something.
We got
for
to
him.
come up with something.
Yeah, we'll come up with something.
Got to come up with something.
So growing up, it was G Money. I don't know if that
No,
resonates. but
Only if
that's
you
okay.
only if you wear the Implicit Bias. What would you pay championship belt?
I didn't-
every
I
time
didn't
you
have a
come
chance
in.
to win,
I
so
know
I
you
don't know.
didn't, but that's okay. You just have to wear it automatically. But I don't know about G Money.
Listen, I hope he's listening. I hope he's listening. I doubt that he is because he's over in Houston. But anyway, one of my dear friends, last name Guidry. We called him G forever. And then that became G Money, G Force, G Spot, G.
Or G Spot.
I was about to say
that one a
anything.
few times.
I was about to say G String.
So
I mean,
G
that
string,
one too.
listen,
That one too.
it's whatever comes across your tongue at the time when you talk to G.
oh, that was way too close of a reference. Anyway,
Listen, you,
wanna
you
tell
go
y'all
to the damn gutter all the time. See, folks, this is why we say the second hour is always better.
I want
It's
to tell
always
Father,
better.
thank you for all the blessings that he's given
Yes.
us. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but he keeps blessing us. We needed it.
every time I come, I know I have my work cut out for me in helping to keep things Catholic.
yeah, we
I think he's doing that to make sure that we don't get the exorcism that we need.
Well, we're gonna go
which
there in the
we're
last
gonna talk
segment.
about
That's gonna be the
that.
last segment.
I know we're gonna talk about that.
all I know is
so-
this. Apparently, JB Pritzker's home needs an exorcism, but it's not from demons. Well, I mean, it could be from the demons that he's hitting at the buffet, but that's a whole nother story because this is diabolical and genius all at the same time. And I actually looked this up. I was like, we have to investigate this. This is true. Like, this is not made up. This is true. So,
Well, I was just going to say, this is straight greed.
there's no doubt it's straight greed, but it's true. So
yeah.
apparently in Illinois, if an edifice, a building does not have usable bathrooms, it is uninhabitable. Therefore, it is ineligible for property tax. So what did J.B. Pritzker do? J.B. Pritzker, when it came time, he would buy a home, he would remove all of the toilets. And I'm still trying to figure out what that shamu of a human being did when he had to go to the bathroom and there were no toilets in the home. And the whole thing is designed because if there's no toilets, it's uninhabitable. If it's uninhabitable, therefore, there are no property taxes.
No toilets, no taxes.
You're talking. You're going so far down the road
Of what?
to work the system.
Oh, yes.
That's
Well, you're talking about a guy whose family is worth billions of dollars, not millions. Yes.
billions.
Yeah, I love it. He can't use the hand that's on the other side of the mic. He's trying.
billions. Well, because
Billions.
it's got to be this one.
No, it doesn't have to be that one. It could
It's
have been your
gotta be
left.
this
It could have
one.
been your left.
This
So,
one's
The chair of
completely
intoxication just moved. Your hand can move. It's fine.
If you're worth billions of dollars, why are you worried in relevance
This is a great
about
point.
$330?
This is a great
because
point.
it's $330K. But for a billionaire,
Right.
That's $3,300.
Remember though,
Like,
and
that's
this
nothing.
is also a person who says tax the rich because they're not paying their fair share. That's his platform. So wait a minute.
His literal platform.
He's
His literal platform.
I thought he had to have a forklift to support that much weight. Anyway, my point is, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell.
Ring it.
My point is, you are calling out and saying we must tax the rich. You are rich and you're doing everything you can to avoid the taxes. You hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna say it.
Yeah.
Hypocritical blob.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about that. Thank you, Father, for culling the words that would have kept me from being Catholic.
Because you can still be Catholic.
Because look,
Happen to have a potty mouth.
all I know is this. It must be difficult for an entity that creates its own source of gravity that it's so dense to go to the bathroom and expel something. Right? So I get it. Maybe he doesn't physically use a toilet. What?
Good
What?
Lord.
What? I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with that. Am I wrong?
Nothing. At least on my part, you're probably gonna give me nightmares about. You're probably gonna give me nightmares about Jabba the Prince.
I mean, I'm serious. So look, that's a great point, Father, because he probably walked the tax collector through the home and went, the bathroom solo. Right? I mean,
No,
It's
but
a-
it goes to as we were talking about earlier, the hypocrisy, which is so typical and emblematic.
Utter hypocrisy.
Yes, utter hypocrisy, which is so typical and emblematic of the left.
ooh, nice word, emblematic. Almost like the finger which we just got. All right.
Again?
Yeah, look, it's rolling. We're going to have some bonus content this week.
Damn it, Walker.
Trust me, I want to save time for the last segment because the last segment is important. It is Catholic. It is fantastic. And we don't want to miss it when we come back on Implicit Bias Radio. Final segment of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio, and it is only fitting that we do a Halloween theme here that also keeps us Catholic, Father. So I alluded to this on a previous episode, and this is a story that has been told, but the whole story hasn't. So I'm going to ask you to indulge me for a second as we remind you that we're coming to you from the Mr. Lester's TSPL. If you want a $5 pour of Blanton's, make your reservation at Mr. Lester's Steakhouse down at Cypress Bayou Casino, the only 5-star restaurant between New Orleans and Houston. And trust me, just ask for the Implicit Bias pour of Blanton's at $5. You're rolling. But this is the story. So Burley, I'm going to ask, do you know what book William Peter Blatty wrote? Do you remember?
I don't remember the name of the book.
But you remember the author's name being preeminent.
Yes, but it has to do with the exorcism.
He wrote The Exorcist. William Peter Blatty.
The book was called The Exorcist?
The book was called
Okay.
The Exorcist, yes. And it was the story. So there's the movie with Linda Blair,
Which we all remember.
and then there's the book. And then there's the real story.
The real story.
So the real story is this. First of all, it was not a young girl. It
No.
was a young boy. Second of all,
70, how many years ago?
60s.
70 something
Like
years
49, right? Like,
Yes.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this actually happened a long time ago.
Long time ago.
But you had a young boy. And so we talk form over function here, right? And this is how this story popped up into our sphere of influence. There is a haunted house in Louisiana that is doing now a mock seance as part of the experience. And the diocese in Baton Rouge and some parishes in Baton Rouge have called this out. Good for them. Because here's the deal. You do not realize what you are playing with.
You're opening a door.
Yeah, exactly.
You have no idea
Exactly.
what you are playing with.
I'm sorry, I have to jump in. You're not just opening a door.
You're inviting it.
You're inviting it. You're kicking it down.
So this is exactly how The Exorcist happened. The young boy had been taught to use a Ouija board by his aunt. His aunt passed, and he was trying to contact his aunt. Now, this is where things get strange. He starts doing things that he shouldn't be able to do. He knows things that he shouldn't be able to know.
Speaks Latin
The young boy speaks dead languages all of a sudden, fluently.
fluently.
Which there is no explanation for this. There is no way you can explain this. His parents,
15 or 16?
12.
He was 12?
Yeah, he was that young.
Okay.
His parents brought him to their Protestant minister. And we love our Christian brothers and sisters. But I'm just saying, there's only one branch of Christianity that is a straight line back to the man who started it. Every other branch started with a human being who said, I know better than the guy who started this. And they branched off. And literally, their pastor, after he saw what was going on with their son, said, the only people who can deal with this are the Catholics. Go see them. So this family finds a Catholic priest. And for those who don't know, and Father, maybe you can give us a brief synopsis of this. Catholics don't just go, oh yeah, we're just going to do an exorcism. There's a lot that comes before the church decides to do an exorcism, correct?
There is. There's a whole process that I don't really have time to explain. Now, let me start off by saying this, that if you ask a 12-year-old boy something in Latin and he responds fluently in Latin, unless he's a child prodigy, there's definitely something going on there.
It should not be a light switch. The child should have learned Latin along the way, never been exposed to Latin, and then can speak Latin.
Exactly.
So, to your point, there's a process here.
Right. And if I may explain something here, there are three aspects, so to speak, of demonic activity. One of them being demonic possession, but the most common is what we call demonic oppression, which basically means that all or part of someone's will or ability to choose has been weakened or taken over by an evil presence. I say, for example, an addiction, so to speak, could possibly be an example.
Right. Not necessarily that it is an example. It
Exactly.
Could be.
Exactly. Now, could an addiction have something to do with the demonic? Absolutely. Does it always? No. And that's where the need for discernment comes in. The church has a process, and forgive me, I'm not completely 100% sure of the process, but I know it does involve psychologists, psychiatrists.
Basically everything else must be ruled out.
Exactly.
Until the church says, okay, we have to engage in an exorcism.
Absolutely.
So this priest goes through this process with the child and determines, yes, they must engage in an exorcism. Now, here's where, and this is the part that gives me chills, because this is the part where you say, if you believe in hate, you have to believe in love. If you believe in good, you have to believe in evil. If you believe in demons, you have to believe in God. So if we know that this child had no other explanation than to be possessed by demons, what we know is that the child today, we don't know his name, but we know that today he's an alive and well adult. And here's the really crazy part.
Well, we do know his name.
No, we got a fake name on him. We never got his real name. And this is the really cool part, though.
Right.
His name really isn't important. What's important is the demon that possessed him. The child told the priest when he came into the room, I can release this boy if he says one word and I'll never let him say it. And the child spoke in multiple voices during the course of the exorcism, even broke the priest's nose during the course of this exorcism.
Among a whole bunch of other
Correct.
stuff.
This is why I say
over a period of time.
read this story. It's fascinating.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting.
And then, and Father, you bless this statue here in the TSPL. And then, the last voice that the little boy spoke of, it came out that there were two people present with the boy. One, and this is awesome because the miracle of the son of Fatima just passed. One was the Virgin Mary. The boy said in a entirely unique voice something to the effect of, the Virgin Mary is here. And then the boy said, Satan, this is Saint Michael. I command you to leave the body of this boy in the name of Dominus. Dominus was the word.
The Lord in Latin.
Yeah.
Dominus, yes.
And anybody know what happened with the child? He woke up and never had the issue again.
Correct.
We're going to continue this conversation in bonus content because we're getting the 1 minute finger. But this is why we do Implicit Bias Radio, because the movie left it out. The movie left out that St. Michael and the Virgin Mary showed up. The movie left out those critical things that showed that function over form was important. And in that scenario, the function of who we are, what we are.
Function trumped.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The absolute form of where we are. Okay, so if you want bonus content, go to Buzzsprout, go to implicitbiasradio.com. You can click the link. It'll take you there. The bonus content drops almost weekly, religiously. And
pun intended.
trust me, it's worth it because we're going to continue conversations like this. And we're going to continue function over form as to how maybe it's really raised its head in psychology today on Implicit Bias Radio. If you missed us, any segment, find us wherever you get your podcast. Download the episodes, follow us, like us, share us. It helps the show. Cheers. We'll see you in 7.